it helps you to place your best foot forward most times, especially when it comes to business. Well, it's another opportunity for us to be having Sandra once again, Twikirize, from Twink Investments. She was here before, and she was a great inspiration, talking about entrepreneurship and how you can tap into their space when it comes to Twink Investments, how they're helping you, they're nurturing you, grooming you in your startups, starting small and growing big. She's here with us again. I know there's a story she didn't exhaust. It's another opportunity to have her back in studio. I'll let you guys know how her investment, how it all started. And, you know, we've had different ladies right here on this very platform. And they would say, 2 years down the road, I'm thinking, where else should I invest? I need to venture into something else. I need to think about something else that I'm passionate about. Maybe with the networking that I've acquired and the lessons I've learned all through, I need to tap into another space to make it better, to be the best entrepreneur out there. Well, her story is more like the same. She was there before, invested, and oh my God. Yeah, but she's back on her feet. These are brilliant ladies. They've shattered the ceilings out there, and they have great, amazing stories, and they want to lift other sisters out there. Thank you for joining us this morning. I am sure Sandra is going to be an inspiration to you. My namesake. Good to have you on the show, Sandra, once again. Good morning, and how have you been?
Thank you, Sandra. I've been well. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Glad to be here.
Twinka Investments. When I look at you, just think about Twinka. I see an investor, I see an entrepreneur passionate to help the young sisters out there, and everyone is starting small at some point. It all doesn't seem to work out, and they want to leave. And I remember you did share with us the time you came here, and you're like, there's no school. There's no school, no organization. A few people have been there for those that have fallen, helping them to get back onto their feet and reminding them that you can still shine, you can still have a bigger enterprise or have a bigger empire when it comes to investment. Well, here you are. Once again, just a recap of what Twink Investment does and the detox, the juices that you do have, so that the guest who is watching you for the first time will have an idea of what Sandra is all about, and maybe we can get that story of how it all started after the investment never worked out.
So at Twink Investments, we basically help entrepreneurs, nurture entrepreneurs to be better business people, because a number of only 2 out of 10 businesses that start thrive or make it to their 3rd or 4th year actually. Most of them tend to fall out and die out, and people don't make it. So you find that only 2 businesses are thriving. So where are the other 8? What happened? What were the challenges that they faced? Did they ever get the help? Did they ever find out what they failed, or they just woke up and gave up one morning? So I think we are there to help those entrepreneurs, to hold their hand, to tailor situations and help them identify what are the challenges, what could be wrong, what can they do right, so that they're able to thrive in the business world and be able to thrive in the hard times, because doing business right now, not just in Uganda but around the globe, is a bit challenging. Times are changing so fast. So we are here to help an entrepreneur understand exactly what is it that you're doing, how can you do it, and how can you thrive. Yes.
So I'll take you back to your story. You had an investment worth 100 million. Very excited to get into business. How did it all start? Was it something that you're passionate about, that you invested in? And then later on, of course, you expected to have the returns, which never worked out.
It was not something actually that I had knowledge about. It was not something that I didn't understand what I was doing actually. All I knew I ventured into the business because there was high profits. So you know, businesses that have really, really high profit are always high risk businesses. So because someone was doing it and the money was there, I was like, they're like, you can try this out. That was fish moors, exporting fish moors in Enoni, locally known as Enoni. So I tried. I had some little money. I was like, let me do this. And I tried, and the profits, oh my God. And I think the time I got the profits, the dollar rate was a bit high. So by the time I got my profits, they were more than 100%. After paying taxes and all that, I was like, wow, this is good. So I had to get resources to invest into the business. I didn't know anything about partnerships. I didn't know anything about like the right business procedures of All I know, the company was registered because you can't export or do business legally when you've not registered the rights. But if I came to you and I'm like, give me 20 million, and you give me that money, I don't care if we've recorded somewhere, written somewhere, how partnerships work, I didn't know all that. So I kept pulling resources and just investing in the business. And things went on so well for about 9 months. I was young, I was around 26. I was young and rich and excited about life and all that. But life has a way of having its own. I don't know. I don't even know how to phrase that. But life, I woke up one day and life really happened. And I think we had a consignment of around 80 million, and we got the fish moors. There was a cold room around Chambogo, and we freezed these things, and I think power just went off somehow. So over the weekend, they just went bad. And Monday I come here and you just don't have the stock. All the 80 million is gone just like that. And life happens and you're back to zero just in a second, because there is no plan B, there is no plan A, there is no plan C. All you need, this is what I'm doing. No savings, no nothing. You're just excited, you're expanding. And most of the times as entrepreneurs, when we are just expanding, we are excited. We don't get at a point where we can take breaks and hold back and we're like, but what exactly is it that I'm doing? Or how best can I expand and tap into other spaces without so much risk? And if I expand, what's the risk? What am I getting myself into? So we just do it excitedly and we end up making a lot of mistakes. So that was it. I'd expanded, I was growing, but I'd not looked at all these things of, I didn't have any backup plan, in short. So I went back on zero, just like that.
So there was nothing like poor book reading? You didn't revise your book so well, you didn't do your research so well. It was just
I was just an excited person that had just jumped into the business world.
So just an overnight?
Without so much knowledge. And I can say basically I didn't have the knowledge of what I was doing so well. So
after you had kept the fish?
It just, fish is delicate, so it has to be kept in ice. So when power went off, I think...
There was no one to monitor for the entire night, maybe to find out?
No, most cold rooms, when power goes off, it always comes back instantly. It's powered again. So we also assumed it was the same. So over the weekend, no one bothered to check. And when we got back on Monday, we were like, wow, it had turned into black. So you can't, Chinese are really strict people. If you send a consignment like that, they'll blacklist you, and that will be the end of it, because they work on trust.
So there was nothing
quantity.
Like risk management before?
No.
Disaster and preparedness?
Nothing. That's what I'm telling you, I was not prepared for anything. And just at times, these things happen. Most of us have got into situations. Business people get into situations where things just happen. Fire outbreaks, things. And you've not insured, probably, because most people don't insure their businesses. And it's a thing I would recommend for any business, small as it is. If you can afford, put down aside those resources and insure your business. So I had not insured.
But you had registered and everything, certified, and everything was organized? Everything was organized,
but that was it. It was organized actually because you should export, they require that. So I'd done the basics of something like, I can do this and I can go through here.
So you went into that particular investment because of the influence?
Influence.
It is something that is sellable. It's because Mulimu
Sente. And it's, I mean, high-risk businesses. I always sell from high-risk businesses because the risk is so high, the profit is so high, but the risk is equally so high. So me, I didn't have knowledge. I was just excited. Like, I'd been in business for quite some time. I'd grown up in the business world. So I used to see my father doing deals. I'll put them like deals. And deals always have the money. So I thought, hey, this is a nice deal. I didn't look at it as a business per se. For me, as much money.
I have my money, I'm going to invest.
Yeah,
instead of us sitting down, much as you have the money, you need to sit down and make certain plans.
Yeah, putting all the systems and structures in place. Like there was nothing. I was just a young girl with no knowledge. And I jumped out into the business world, and I ended up crashing because there was no sense of direction, no vision, no nothing. Yeah.
Kastoitao, that was the main motive.
Yeah. And I think most entrepreneurs is the mistake we make these days. Kastampitao. You don't calculate the risk. You don't do anything. You just jump into the world with your 2 feet. Njagala kola business. Someone's given you 10 million. You think you can just get out there and do business. Things don't work like
10
that.
10 million feels like I have a 1 billion.
A 1 billion.
I can manage this.
And people just jump into the business world and they've not sat down to do their research. I always tell people, beyond the capital, which is the cash, there is the capital. Actually, the most important capitals that we always neglect are the intellectual capital. And in the intellectual capital, I always tell people this is the knowledge. Seek out to read, seek out to look, what business am I going in? There are people who have done it and how have they excelled. Look for mentors in that particular business that you're going to do. Do enough research before you put that 10 million somewhere, because you just can't. There is more to money, which is the intellectual capital, which is the social capital. Social capital, you always look at who are your mentors, who has done this business before, have they excelled? If someone failed, why did they fail? If someone is excelling, why are they excelling? Look out for those people. They are there. Talk to them. Actually, the world has a bit changed these days that most entrepreneurs or most people are willing to share this knowledge, and there is YouTube, there is the internet. These stories are always there. If someone was selling something and it didn't work out, if someone was doing a service and didn't work out, why did they fail? So intellectual capital is so important for any entrepreneur, and I always recommend people like away from capital, the normal capital, we look at the money capital, look out for your social capital, look out for intellectual capital, and also your spiritual capital. They are key things for any entrepreneur.
So at the point of that breakdown, should I call it a breakdown? How much or how worth was the investment?
Around 90 million.
90 million.
And after that, I think I was able to sell a piece of land, and I wanted to go back in the same exact business.
That is like, you thought of, the first solution you thought about was still getting a little bit of money and investing in the same business.
Invest in the business, because part of the money that was in that business was not my money. I'd got money from people. So I'm not going to come to you and I'm like, I lost your 20 million, I lost your 30 million.
We had a guest right here yesterday of looking out for money to invest. At least you call upon friends or maybe family, the crowdfunding. Was that the situation you
No,
were
me, I just looked
experiencing?
out to my friends, my dad, my auntie, and I told them, man, there is this is going on, so we need money. And they gave me their money. But now my friends, family can understand, but if you're my friend and you give me money, you'll not understand. You'll need your money at the end of the day. And I got into so much trouble after that, because
they were like Sandra Muferi,
and people will call you that. Yeah, people will definitely call you names and that, but no one will not understand. And one thing I've learned is, over time, if you're going to do a partnership with a person or get into any business partnership, make the things clear, get lawyers, get everything set. Because people tend to think, Sandra, if I'm giving you 30 million, they don't want to know what you're going through to make, what you're going through to cause them with that money. You're getting it. So at the end of the day, they want the profit. They don't know if you made the money, if you didn't make the money, if you slept awake, if you didn't sleep awake. So when people need to break it down, yes, you've given me the 30 million, but what else are you bringing to the business? Are you going to help with the operations? Are you going to help with the marketing? Are you going to help with the branding? Like, they need to be hands-on.
He's also stuck. He has that idea, very brilliant. He knows all the corners on how the operations are supposed to be operating for them to be able to get the returns. But he does not have the investment, the money to invest, the capital you were sharing about earlier on. And so he has to partner with someone. So they are in that bit of dilemma. Who takes the bigger share? How are we going to divide? I mean, at the end of the day, with what we shall acquire.
Actually, the person with the idea
is the best person.
Is the best person. I mean,
can
I have
they
the
have
idea.
Equal share?
They can have equal share.
Yeah,
because I mean, the idea is mine.
You might be having the money, but
you
I have the
money,
brains.
but I have the idea, I have the brains. I can
and
operate.
And the going to take the operations down the road.
Down the road, but I wouldn't recommend him to entirely do the operations solely.
The one was the idea.
The one who has the idea. The other partner that is bringing the capital on board has to also get at least involved, so that in case they hit any point, any bad point, the other person can really tell that this is what really happened. Because in most cases, if that person is not like entirely involved in the business, and the other person that came with the idea, yet in actual sense the person got the money, invested the money, and maybe even the business took off and it was functioning so well. But along the way, there was a mistake. There was something so small.
They need to walk the journey together.
You need to walk the journey.
Share the experiences together.
Yes, it's a partnership. We are doing this together.
Okay.
Don't think because you're giving me 50 million, you're going back to go and sleep. And then
had you
I'm
sat
just
down?
going to
Had you sat down from the beginning, and you're like, okay, so and so gave me this much, and I'm supposed to return with such interest? Did you have them like listed down?
Actually, now that's when you're doing like a business partnership, you only look at the profits. The more the business grows, the profits you make, it's what you share. But like I said, we had not put it on paper.
So you were stuck in your own world.
I was in my own world.
Things never worked out.
Things never worked out, and literally they can't understand. There is no way someone is going to understand.
Have they
that things didn't
understood
work
up
out.
to now, or maybe it's still a process?
They've never understood.
They've never
And they
understood.
could never understand at the end of the day if it is someone's money, it has kind of really be paid. You have to figure it out on how to pay it, or you die in your movie. I like telling it. At the end of the day, you have to.
You
If
die
you
in
don't
your
do
movie.
things right, you just have to end up.
Well,
dying
this
in
is a
your
tough
movie.
experience. Sandra had, much as smiles are here, but some tough experience that she had to go through. Waking up and 90 million shillings is into flames.
Gone. You're back to zero. And the sad part was, I think a lot, like I told you, I think I was like, I can still do this. Yes, I was hit, I cried, I was depressed, I was sad, I was confused. But
For
I was
how
like,
long?
no, that was for a short time. I was like, I can get a plan. Sell, land, reinvest, you pay your debts and figure it out.
So as you're trying to help and groom and nurture the ones who are also into such investments and maybe collapse at some point, helping them get back onto their feet, during that time when you were stuck, who was there for you? I mean, who did you run to? Because, I mean, depression itself is something worse.
No.
Because I love the idea. I just love, it's very amazing.
It's-
thinking about the rest,
Yeah.
lifting them up. But during that particular point, during that scenario, what were you up to? Who was your advisor? Who was encouraging? Who was lifting your hand
I
up?
think at the second try that failed, that I was robbed. I'd parked somewhere around KCCA and someone broke into my car and picked out my bag. That I just sold the land and then someone came and picked up my bag.
And when you made the second attempt,
The second attempt
to sell the land, get more
So I
money,
drove
and
from
invest in the
Mukono.
same business?
Yeah.
So someone is taking the
So I
money.
drive from Mukono till KCC. I was supposed to pick a license from there that day. I didn't even take 5 minutes inside KCC, and someone just opened my car and took out the bag that had the money.
Oh my
When I came
God.
back, I opened, drove out. I didn't really notice that there was my bag was missing. I remember I drove to Ginger Road Police Station. I called my dad. I'm like, they've robbed me. I told him the story and I hung up. And all he could say is like, whom are you with? And I was like, I just hung up. And I think he called the father of my children at the moment and he's like, help me find out where Sandra is. You know, Ugandan police, you go make a statement, but nothing is done, basically. So I went back to my house and it was bad. It was so bad. I cried, I yelled, among my peers, everyone looked up to me. Like, she knows it all, she has it all. I was living a bit of quite a decent, extremely decent life.
At a tender age.
At a tender age. And I'm looking like, okay, what next? I remember things were so bad. Too bad. You're broke. Definitely you end up being broke. And then I'm like, so, and then the worst of all, I found out as, I think, pregnant for my second child. And I always tell people, at that particular moment in life, if I had around 300,000, my son would not be
Oh my God.
would not be living today.
Oh my
Because
God.
it was that bad. I felt like I could not hardly take care of my first baby. Here I am having a second baby. And then what? And then what? And someone would ask like, so where was the father of your children? He had lost his job. He had been out of employment for about 2 years. So I was doing my thing, and I was okay doing my thing. So life moves on, things get so hard. I give birth, moving forward I give birth, and life got more hard. I was staying in Umbia, so now I have to leave Umbia, and I'm trying to be like, where am I going to stay? I don't know how to stay with, those apartments, and I don't know how to live with people, because I was lived to an extremeness of life, but now you have to downsize. And then I have to sell my car, and then I remember the first time I had to go with my daughter on a board. I was like, how does my girl sit on a board? Like, everything was so traumatizing, like life is changing. So at one point, things got really bad, and my parents had to take away my kids. But in taking away my kids, they took away the kids in a sense of they were letting me start all over, but they didn't understand emotionally how drained I was.
Because I was like, were they trying to help?
They were trying to help,
you with the
thinking they are
depression?
looking at the kids. They're taking care of the kids. And my son was, when you're a mother and you take away your son when you're 3 months,
Wow.
so young, they are supposed to be breastfeeding and enjoying you, but they're being taken away.
Oh my God.
That was also another bad, depressing thing. And unfortunately, the father of my children also at that point was not present.
Trying to figure it out.
Trying to figure it out.
do
He had to
the
leave the country, so I'm by myself. So here
Your
I am in
friends,
a
you
house.
can't call anyone. You were a
I
strong
just didn't know
pillar.
whom to speak to. I was lost. I was broken. Now whom do I tell? Do I tell that I'm behind rent? I can't feed my kids. I can't afford anything. It was so bad, and I remember now the kids are taken. I'm as me. No one else. I'm in my house by myself. So I could just put off my phones, close the curtains, close the house, and be in my bed, cry. And now I'd even learned to know which things make me sleep longer, black out for long, like medicines. So you just go buy these medicines and you black out because you don't want to think, you don't want to be present, you don't want to exist. And it took a toll on me. You want to commit suicide, you think you've failed in life, you think you've failed your kids. It was so bad, but it's because there was no one who was ever there to understand exactly what is it that I was going through at that particular moment. Until
Did you try to look for a job? Have you been employed before? Or what was running through your mind?
I'd been employed before, but I would work for 2 weeks and quit. I don't know how to be under
Pressure.
I don't know how to work under pressure or work for people.
You were born to be
But
an
even
investor.
when you're depressed, you don't think so much.
Yes.
And remember, you're using like things that are forcing you to make, things that are making you sleep. You don't want to exist. Like, you're not thinking so much. You're getting it at that particular moment. Depression is a very bad place to be, especially when you have no one who is understanding. And I think there is a day my sister called in and is like, what's going on? And I think I had so much anger, and I just burst out, and I'm like, you guys just don't care, you hate me, what? And I think she realized something is not right. And I think like the next day she had to drive with a friend to my house, and they couldn't tell if there was a person in the house or not. And they knocked, tried calling, my phones are off, knocked until our neighbor's like, she's in. Mrs. like, Sandra, get out. So I got out and I'm like, what are you guys doing here? So what do you want? Because, when you're depressed, you just don't want to speak to people.
I know.
And they just sat, I looked at them and they're like, what is going on? I'm thinking, what should I tell you? What should I tell you? So she had to labor, get a therapist from Tabika, check in, and I started my therapy sessions. She pushed so hard. She was like, I'm escorting you till Tabika. What? So I used to sit down and just listen in. I think the first session I was just listening in. Okay, do this, do
Okay,
this.
you were just like, let me do it for her.
Yeah, you
Just
get
for
someone
just.
neighbored. And I'm like,
You
you don't understand. Then they're like, I think they tend to say depression has no medication, but I think I started on my meds. And they were a bit so helpful. They were really, really helpful. I started gaining a bit of sanity. And maybe had I thought help earlier, I would not have gone through all that bad place or bad space. I started getting help, and I started getting back on my feet, and my friends were really helpful. And here I am today, after getting the help and getting back on my feet. Someone is like, oh, this is this, get this amount, it's not for paying back. And I started praying more. I'd stopped praying when I was in depression. I was not praying at all. I didn't know God at that point. I was just in my own
Like, why would
world.
you even have let all these things happen to me in the first place?
I know. So I started, starting was hard because you have debts. You're in debts, you're in arrears, you're indebted, you have bills
So
that
you're
are
getting back to the
lacking.
drawing board again.
You're getting back to the drawing board, but
Having the
things are
basics
bad.
coming right.
Yeah, but things are bad.
Were you still having the same thought of investing in the same business?
At that point, no. At that point, I didn't even. At that point, actually, I had a backup business, which was a boutique. At that point, but when all that happened, and you're putting off funds and your words, so I think not much was going on, but the business was there in the background working. But you know, when you're absent in a business, also a lot of things go wrong. You lose out on your clients. You're not stocking. You're not marketing. People are making money, probably even taking it. But there was that. So to me, it was like my baby. It was like my startup place of. So whoever was giving me money was giving me money. Put the money in the boutique, pick up yourself, and see how best you can get back into the world and work. So.
So, you had to really think of where to invest again, away from the boutique.
Yeah, I had to first let it pick up and be in a good place, because at that point it was my sole source of income. So I had to make sure that it's extremely in a good place before I could now think of what next. Though at that particular moment I was also doing for people like business proposals and stuff, and I got to get some little money that would also sustain me. So as they are thinking, but you know, there is also having an idea when you don't have the capital. Yeah,
That's another thing. And okay, I know you've shared a lot, but I'll still keep taking you back. All the lessons learned, for someone out there, you never know, as we're sharing right here, for this very conversation, today's episode, someone could actually be experiencing the same. Maybe they've already invested and things are not turning out the way they expected, or they really hope them to be, and they're like, maybe I'm venturing into something that I'm not passionate about. I might not get the returns. I don't trust the partners I have at the moment. I have all these loans onto my head. I have to pay back with interest. They could be experiencing that bit at this particular point in life, maybe at this particular point in the investment. With what you've experienced and what you've shared, what are some of the lessons that you learned? Because now you had to get back, sit, sanity is back. you have to mature, you have to put on the thick skin, find yourself once again, because your focus is to invest, be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
The lessons learned also.
I think the key lessons I learned is learn how to be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. Most of the times when we are going through situations, we tend to hide from them or run out from them. Face the situation the way it is, especially just be real. Now, you have loans, you have debts, you have all this. Sit down and identify, whom do I owe, how much. Know your debts. Know your debt from zero, even if it is that airtime money we borrow. Know your debts from zero. Write down your debts and reach out to your creditors. Reach out to these people, your debtors. Reach out to them and tell them, you know what, I'm struggling. Things are not going so well. I don't even know where to start from. But this is it. Can I get a grace period? Can we kind of reduce the interest? Even if there are banks always, even if you sat down with a bank, you can sit down with a bank and agree. So know your debt and be true to yourself. Reach out to those people. Running away from your debts does not help, and it will never help. Actually, running away from your debt can only put you in more trouble. They'll hunt you down, they'll get you court brokers and all this, and things will be bad. So reach out to your debtors as much as you can. Communicate to them, tell them things are not going great. And most of the times when you're in big debts, you want to take a loan or a debt to clear an existing loan or existing debt. That is one of the biggest mistakes you could ever do, because this current debt already has an interest on it. The debt you're trying to take to pay the other debt is also going to carry an interest. So you're only digging yourself into more big debts. But if you're lucky enough and you have an asset, offset the asset. You can always, these are things that are replaceable, especially if you're working. Offset your asset, get into, clear down all these debts, get back on zero and start afresh. Starting afresh is always so hard, and going back to zero is hard. But trust me, it is something that you would want to do, because also the pressure of you're in debt, all those phone calls, and you start even putting off your phone, you'll end up getting sick, getting pressure, getting diabetes, getting those things. You'll even sleep and you wake up dead because it's just too much on your head. So be true to yourself and try to seek support. This is where the social capital comes in. Who are your friends? Who are your people? Do you have a mother? Do you have a father? Do you have friends, even if you can't afford going to family because maybe they're going to laugh at me or this? Go to family, go to your friends. Talk to your friends, be like, you know what, I'm going through ABCD, I have this amount of debt and I need help. We should learn how to help people, because if I can call you for my wedding launch and you're giving me over 40 million, why can't you give me 40 million to get out of debt? Why can't you give me that 40 million to do a business? Why can't you seek support? Had I thought the support, had I looked out for help, had I spoke to people, had I looked around my friends, I don't think I would have been in an extremely bad place. I don't think I would have gone through that deep depression. No, I would not have. But I didn't talk to my friends. And funny enough, when I went to my friends and talked to them, they came through so much and helped me in a way that I cannot explain. I had people paying my rent for the time I was not able to pay my rent. I had people who were giving me money for food. I had people meeting my kids' medical bills, because after like 6-7 months I was able to get my kids back. And that people were willing to always come through for me and be there for me till to date. And they made sure that I got back on my feet. How much do you want? Do you want 5 million? How long would you take? You can pay it in 6 or 7 months. You get, as long as you get back on your feet. So we should learn how to seek help at all times. Speak up. You never know who will be willing to help, or you never know where your next help comes from.
Okay. Imagine if you got an opportunity once again, and someone is able to give you the 90 million that you lost along the way from the start. Where would you invest?
Chika Investments.
And what would your focus be?
My dream is to really, I insist again, my dream is to really help entrepreneurs. Like you said, people out there have ideas. You sit down with a young person, they have an idea, but they don't have the capital, they don't have where to start from. So I think what I would do is basically start a business for this person, like in form of a loan, but I'm going to help you start the business. We're going to register the business. We go through all the right steps, make sure the business takes off. And once the business has fully taken off, the business will pay back. My company will pay back Chika Investments. And once you're done paying the money, you can fully, independently take over your business. You get? So that's my dream. I would want to help and create many entrepreneurs in the world as much as I can. And I just want to groom entrepreneurs. And maybe some people even out there have businesses, but there is, if I got just like a 5 million I invested it in my business, it would turn my business around. And you really see that they actually need the 5 million, but they don't have where to get the 5 million from. Maybe because they don't have assets, they don't have like an asset or collateral security, but I help you invest the 5 million in your business, help you run your business until a certain point. When the 5 million, when the business can pay the 5 million, I start taking out my money, and when I'm done, I give you back your business. So that's the dream.
Wow, amazing. So at the moment, what keeps you busy? Kind of investment. I know there's detox juices that also has a story behind it, and how it was rebirthed. Was it during COVID?
Yeah, it was.
You really had to think so hard of what to do?
Yeah, we're home so seated, and I was like,
please give us that story.
You know, during COVID, there was a lot of concoctions going on. If you mix this and mix this, you get to this. If you mix this and mix this, so I sat down and mixed my things. And my friends were like, I gave a friend, I was like, I took your thing, my chest felt light. I felt better. I was like, hey, okay. The next. And before, I was selling a liter for 20, a liter for 20. And people started recommending. I was like, wow, I can actually make money. Then I was like, so how do I make this big? So, but I started with basically Nita Detox at that particular moment because people needed to boost their immunity. Some people needed to lose weight. They had sat home for so long. People needed to cleanse because they had taken so many drugs. So I was like, I did my research, did my homework. And I'd grown up saying my mom make these concoctions for my father each time he fell sick. So I went out, did my research, and by the time we're out of COVID, business was really good. People are like, oh, you need something to boost your immunity, talk to person. There's this person called Nita Detox. You need this and this. So eventually, we picked up, we got our niche, and it was doing so well. But realized that now people wanted more than that. They wanted the juices, maybe of, I'm getting myself a detox, but my kids have no juice to take. They'll ask me, why aren't you buying for us or this? So we ended up, now Nita Detox birthed Nita Juices. And today it's become a big, it's become a big business that is trying to survive on its own, and it's independent. And we hope in the future to make preservatives and exports.
Well, a lady shared right here on this very platform, and was like 2 years down the road after I had failed out, she also had a story to share with us. And she's like, she had also conceived and needed some time as well, because I mean, as ladies, everyone wants a portion of you. So she really had to keep away from the investment because it had not worked out for her. So she gave herself time to nurse the baby and all that. But she later got back onto her feet. She had to find her passion. She was passionate about seeing things organized. She visits a friend, I'm like, your house is a bit disorganized, let me try to help you out. Helping friends, like if you're shifting, you give her a call, she helps you out. She was like, I need to earn from this at the end of the day.
I know.
So her story is also quite interesting. She got back onto her feet. Someone could be there and like, no, I think I should go back to employment. Be employed, be vehicle. So someone I cannot handle business anymore. I mean, it's not maybe my thing. Someone could be experiencing that, like, I fear those things. I cannot invest my money anymore. Let me rather keep my money, enjoy my salary at the end of the month, because by the time it comes, I already have plans for it. After paying myself, of course. What would you share with someone like that?
If you went back to employment, for how long? If you went back to employment, yes, for how long are you going to earn that money? Because we all hit the retirement phase. So when you hit retirement, the money is no longer coming. Are you going to eat that money that you're making now until you die, or you're going to eat it until, when it gets over? The question is, what next? You know, I've been employed. I went to school, I have amazing books and all that, and I've been employed. Employment is not, we are different. Sandra, you could be good at doing your job, and you excel at it. And you can't really handle the business world. I know people who really can't manage or handle the business world. They're so comfortable in sitting in their office spaces and being there. But the reality will hit you at the end of the day that you need a plan B. You need a plan B. I always encourage people, have as many income streams as you can. Your salary is good. You could actually be earning well, very extremely well, but find something that you can invest in. At least buy a piece of land or pieces of land and resell them, so that maybe by the time you retire, you can afford doing real estate. Or buy shares, or do something with your money. Do not let your money sit there and just be idle. It's just not right. So employment is all good. I'm all for employment because we all can't be in the business world. But find a plan B, have multiple sources of income. You could, I always tell people, like, if you're in employment and you're scared of going out, around your office space, there are people who always want small loans. Get your salary, borrow those people. Register a company, and always borrow people around your circle's money. you would find that even they know in the other organization, by there is Sandra, she borrows people money. You get someone will recommend, and before you get to know, you can start with your 5 million, but within 3-4 years, you'd be shocked at how much you've made out of that. And when you're going to retire, you could start a money lending, actually you've registered a money lending venture. So you could just have an office and sit where you're doing your money lending, and the business has grown over time and you've got the expertise. You get? So you just think out of the box and make sure that you have multiple income streams. Salary alone can not take you far. That's the bitter truth.
So for an entrepreneur out there who has been inspired, wants to get more from Sandra herself, at Twink Investment, is there a membership? How can they get?
No, they can just
get to you and tap into that space.
You can just call or WhatsApp, and the plan is to set up an academy, entrepreneurship academy, where we can train these people. Actually, the training is going to be free of charge. This is just a way of giving back to society. But you can reach out, you can text, you can call, and we can always sit down and talk and go through these instances, what's on your mind. I love people who speak out their minds, and when someone really speaks out their mind from the bottom of the heart, it is so much easier to help and identify and know exactly what do they really, really, really want. And I think people prefer opening up to strangers about situations that they are going through. People really have stories that they can't really open up to their own family members or stuff. So you can always call or send an email, and we could always meet. I'm based in Chireka. You come up and we sit and we have a conversation and we see how best you can be helped. Or do you want to start a business? Do you have a business that is actually struggling? Are you lost? Are you confused? Do you want to quit employment but you don't know if you're at that point of quitting or holding on a little tight? Yeah.
Chireka. Is there a poster, a landmark?
Chireka Junction Mall, F15.
Investments.
Chireka Junction Mall, F15.
Chireka Junction Mall, F15.
Yes, for now that's where we are located. Yeah, but the plan is to get an academy. We're looking for big space, so by next year, on the 1st of February, we should be launching the academy. Yeah. So far,
I know it's a journey and you have great plans for the entrepreneurs out there, and regardless to the academy itself. Some of the stories you've had, the entrepreneurs share when they come to you. I love the bit that you talked about. People don't really want to open up to family members at times because they'll either be laughed at or like, you know, maybe their family members will not even believe in them, and they will prefer friends, and maybe friends you'll be like, she's going to be envious, so I rather keep my idea to myself. That's another thing as well. So they can easily open up to a stranger and let it all out and get the ideas they're looking out for. I am sure you've shared with a few entrepreneurs. What are their stories like? Where is the problem?
The problem is people fear being judged. People fear being judged. It's a couple of them. Number one, people fear being judged. If I open up and someone knows I'm going through ABCD, what next? My family will look at me as a failure. There is a gentleman I was talking to. They had been fired from their workplace. And this gentleman didn't know how to tell the wife had been fired, and he didn't know how to tell his father, and yet the father was capable of helping, but he didn't know how to go and be like, you know what, dad has fired. I'm looking for, I think he had savings of 3 million, and for him he felt like they can't do anything. How are my kids going to survive if I touch this money? If I invest it, then what next? So he was like, I just can't tell anyone what I'm going through. My friends can't know. I have status to keep. Let me tell you one thing, no one cares about you. Let it be status or no status, no one cares about you. And the world keeps moving every single day. So like I said previously, you need to be true to yourself. Be real. Be like, you know what, this is it. I've lost my job. So I either look for help, or you're going to keep there playing hide and seek with yourself, and things will catch up with you. Yet you could have thought help, and you could actually get the help. So this person was not well because of status. How will they look at me seeking for help? How will I tell my wife if you can't tell your own wife that you lost that job, and maybe you figure out things together, then what next? The father is my father was a rich man, but he's like, my dad is going to look at me as a failure. So people don't want to be looked at to like they've failed in life. So this particular person is like, you know what? I'm like, you have to speak up or what? No, you know what? We go together to my dad. What? I'm like, no. Go sit down your father. Be like, you know what? ABCD has actually happened. And I need help. You're getting it. So the more you treat yourself, the better. The more you fear being looked at as a failure. At one point in life, we've all failed. We've all failed. And it's about how you get up and pick yourself up. And you cannot, in most cases, you can't pick up yourself up as you without someone holding your hand. Actually, you might even pick up yourself and stand, but how do you take the steps? You're getting it. So most people fear. There is that misconception of I'm going to be judged, I'm going to be looked at as a failure, things like that. So it's a big challenge that most entrepreneurs are really, really facing. And then the other challenge is of, like you said, people fear if I share my idea, someone is going to steal it. Sharing an idea has never been bad because no one can do what you can do as you. People often come to me and ask, how do you do the juice business? I'll even give you all my notes. But I know you cannot pull it out. You cannot pull it out at the end of the day like I do. You might actually do much better than I am. So share your idea, look around. You never know, you can even get someone who is like, oh, you can do that. Let me give you money, or let's work together, and we shall share profits at the end of the day. So it's not bad, it's never bad to share your idea. Don't sit on your idea. Talk about your idea as much as you can. Whoever is willing to listen, just share. You never know where your blessing lies. And the more you share your idea, actually you could be into a conversation and be like, you know what? I want to ship in these machines. Then someone is like, you know what? I know a source where you can get them at a cheaper price or something. So you keep getting knowledge and knowledge every day and you patch up. So sharing an idea, entrepreneurs don't want to share ideas. But the more you share your idea, the more you get enlightened and the more you get all this knowledge and you're better. So
well, I hope the ladies out there pick just one or two things because some people are quicker, and the moment you share it, they'll definitely
take it over. But like I said,
anyway, such worries come through.
And even people end up being friends. Can you imagine she was my friend and I shared an idea, and then they took over my idea? It's okay. It's well. At the end of that day, go back. If you get the money, do the same thing. You'd be shocked that you could even thrive better than them because, like I said, our mindsets are different. Our creative...
Everyone has a gift.
Everyone has a gift, and the creativity is always different because what you have at heart, no one can do this show like you can do this show. Even another person might come and do it better or fail even to do it at all, yet you almost have the same
Maybe could even have been a better inspiration to them, and they do it much better.
Yeah, so it's just share the
We need
idea.
each other.
We need each other to grow. You can't
have it all, but at least you can live a purposeful life. I know we look out for role models at a certain point in life with what we do, or maybe where life leads us. You need a role model, and that's another big challenge many people experience. They've lacked mentors. They're like, I wish I had someone to talk to me, or maybe if I had a role model to look up to. And you yourself, you've experienced it all, and you are a role model to many, those who are closer to you. First-hand experience. That's who Sandra is. How has this all shaped you as an entrepreneur and as a person? Because you are a mother and you were someone's partner, you needed your attention, and they wanted you energized, your parents wanted you energized. I mean, it was really a lot for you. How has it shaped you as a person?
I can't say it's been a tough one. It's really, really been a tough one because in my parents' eyes, especially my father's eyes, I had no room for failing. It was not there. Like, he had gone out of his way to give me the best in life that he could. By the time I was done with Senior 6, I think in my Senior 6 pack, I enrolled for my NCCA. When I was finishing my first degree, even before I could sit down, I was already doing my master's. So with him, he wanted that perfect daughter of everything has to work out. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I was always in panic of I have to please my father. But then I realized you can't be perfect for anyone. You can't, even for myself at times, you just can't be perfect for anyone. You can't please anyone. And at the end of that day is the moment we realize that We can't be perfect for anyone. It's the moment you get that peace that comes with you. You know what? I can do what I can do, what I cannot do. These days, I have most of my friends in my circles, they'll tell you, they used to say, have you gone to Sandra? If you've not talked to Sandra about that business idea, so you find you have friends to please. You're a mother, you have to please your kids. Your father is expecting you to please them. You have business partners that are expecting that, like everyone expects you to be perfect. But these people do not realize that you're human. And someone misses like, if I was only as strong as you are. And by that statement alone, you get so angry. You're like, do you realize how weak I am? You're getting it. So people expected me to be so strong. People really think I'm this one strong person who always has my life figured out and all this. But they don't know that at the end of the day, you're human and you're bound to break. And I've learned how to give myself peace. If I can do it, I can do it. If I cannot do it, I cannot do it. There is no way you expect me to talk to like 6 entrepreneurs a day or have like 3 trainings in a day. And then I'm back home, I have to be a mother. And mommy this. And I often tell my kids, I'm like, mommy's tired today, can I pick hours of sleep? Mommy, what about us? I'm like, and you're getting it. So you find yourself making the sacrifices and the balances and all this. Like, you just have to, life is not fair. That's all I can say. Life is not fair. It is so hard.
How does it feel? How does it feel to share your story, be here and speak to so many people out there? I know at least you've met 1 or 2, those especially who come looking out for you, and you do share your story with them. How do you feel at the end of the day?
It feels good knowing that there are people who have been in situations like mine, and they don't have people to speak to, or they don't even imagine that someone has been through the same situation. And when you speak, they're like, oh, you've been through that. And that's the relief that they get, that sigh of, okay, so how did it go? And by the time the person walks out of your face, they have a bit of hope. If she had been there and she got back on her feet, meaning I can also get back on my feet. If she went from 0 back to somewhere, that means there is hope. You're getting it? The fact that my story is able to give people hope, the fact that it gives someone that sense of, I'm not alone. Someone has been there, they've failed, they've figured it out, and here they are. So it makes me feel good. I always tell my God that I hope I can change. You know, people say they want to make people get born again. I always tell God, I hope I can change and transform and inspire as many business people as I can, the business world, the entrepreneurs as much as I can. And they should not fear that it's okay to fail. It's okay for you to fail. It's okay for you to be in a bad place. It's okay for you to be in a bad shape. It's okay for you not to have it figured it out. It's just a matter of you taking one day at a time and realizing that one day it will be all right. If only you're true to yourself, one day it will be all right.
Beautiful. Well, that's all we have time for today's episode. A few minutes to the top of the hour. Lots of programs lined up for you. A great episode, a great conversation. Oh my God. Thank you so much for making time from the start of this very episode up until now. Sandra's been a great inspiration. Sandra Twikirize, Trinka Investment, thank you so much for making time. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Keep shining, girl, and lifting other entrepreneurs out there.
It's about trying. It's about trying.
Yeah, I know
Thank
you're
you.
doing your best.
Thank you.
Well, enjoy your day. Looking forward to spending more time with you. Tomorrow, same time, same place. My name is Sandra Kahunde. God bless you. Keep watching the National Broadcaster. We love you.